In this video, I'm going to be talking about tension, which is part of the structure playlist. Now, tension can be pretty difficult to define, but it's really easy to see when it's in a play, or a film, or even a television program. Essentially, tension can be the build-up of events that link together to form a climax or a cliffhanger. Too often than not, tension is linked to conflict, either in the form of an argument, or maybe the opposite, a quiet but scary event that builds up to a point. Tension works on the basis of what the audience is going through. It isn't necessarily something that you do as an actor, but it's a set of things that you can do as an actor and as a group of actors to create something. And what you are creating is a sense of anticipation and expectation in the performance. And it's developed through the use of climax and sometimes anticlimax, which is essentially the building and releasing of tension. So as an audience, what we're trying to see is we're wanting to wait and see how the action will build. And that's the way that the audience becomes tense. And as the action goes towards a point, a pivotal point in the performance, perhaps the end of the argument, a moment of violence, we see that we are then relieved to see that everything perhaps turns out well. Or possibly that the audience will have to wait and see what happens at the end, because it builds up to that point and nothing happens and the end occurs and we have to wait and see what happens next. Some really famous television programs like EastEnders works very well on the basis of having a cliffhanger, and you get hooked and you have to watch the next episode to see what happens. Let's take this for an example. Here we've got two actors and they're in a performance in a film and they've been arguing. Now the tension's been building out throughout the scene. They first of all started talking quite amicably, and then one of them raised a topic that the other didn't like. It started off being a discussion to begin with, then one of them got a bit more passionate and started to shout, then they both started to shout, and that's raising the tension up for the audience. We want to see what's going to happen. Now a cliffhanger might finish at that point. It might finish at the point where perhaps the gentleman raises his hand to hit the girl, but it might finish at that point. And as a cliffhanger, we don't know what's going to happen afterwards until we watch the next episode. But that's all building up towards that point of climax and raising the tension of the viewer and the audience. So then let's turn our heads for a moment to what an anticlimax is. An anticlimax ends in a different way, but it still builds that sense of anticipation and expectation in a performance. The audience are still drawn into the performance in using the same techniques. But when it's just about to get to that pivotal moment, something happens, something changes, and the tension is released. So if we think about our example of these two actors who have been arguing about a situation, it might lead to a point of climax where the two characters are really shouting at each other. One example of an anticlimax at that moment might be where one of the characters actually stops for a moment and suddenly agrees with the other character, and suddenly all the tension and the argument is deflated as the two characters are in agreement. Another thing might be that at the point of climax, when the two people are really shouting and arguing, a third character comes in, but a third character that is different to those other characters, and so it might deflate the tension in that way. So that is what tension is, along with a climax, an anticlimax, and a cliffhanger. And as I said, it's easy to identify in a performance, in a film, or in television programs. But sometimes it's harder to be able to define, and it's quite hard to think about actually what goes into making a tense moment. And so here's some top tips for thinking about how to create tension in drama. The first one It's all about pace. Pace is really important. You've got to get the pace of the performance right. If you build that tension too quickly, then the tension will die too early as well. You can't go in that scene from them discussing to them arguing. It's too quick. The tension will never build properly. Likewise, if the pace of the performance is too slow, then the tension will never build at all, and the climax will hardly seem anything. But it's got to start off slow, and then build and build, getting quicker and getting quicker and getting quicker, until it almost seems that the outcome might be inevitable. Another way to use tension and create tension in drama is through your voice. And this one in particular, when you're thinking about fear. To be able to project your voice in a whisper, or show fear and emotion in your voice clearly. Again, the use of eye contact can be really, really powerful. To be able to maintain eye contact in an argument, or to be able to drop eye contact at a particular moment. That's really small, subtle movements that can change and improve tension in your performance. Using clear arm gestures, along with big and clear facial expressions. But it's that attention to detail that's going to make it really effective. And keeping it simple. A simple strike in a violent argument is far more effective than anything more. So that's how you think about creating tension, and that's what we define tension